spiders and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial for you. And this one is a really easy crocheted pixie hat, hood, cap. It could go by a lot of names, but I like the idea of a little pixie hat. It's really, really cute. It could also be an ear flap hat because of the way that these corners go over the ears. You've got your tassels. It's a lot of fun. It's really, really quite simple to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And so for this example, I used Red Heart Super Saver and a size H crochet hook, and it's a breeze. It's so easy. I did one of these in an evening, and absolutely love it. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how it's done. Alrighty, so I've got my Red Heart Super Saver yarn. You can use whatever kind you want. I'm just explaining what I'm using so you can get an idea. So I've got my yarn, got my size H crochet hook right there. And basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making granny squares. Yes, I know I'm a nut for these granny squares, but they are so versatile, as you can see. Now, this square is a total of 8 rounds. Now, this is what worked for me. Now, you can do different sizes. You can make this hat whatever size you want, which absolutely awesome. You can do a tiny little pixie hat for a little baby, or bigger size for an adult. Whatever works for you. So I found that using 8 rounds of a worsted weight yarn with a size H hook worked just fine for me. So now for those of you that are all too familiar with grannies, you can skip ahead. I will not take offense, but I like to be thorough. So, of course, we're going to start with our slip knot and chaining of 4, and then do a slip knot into the first chain, like so. So now we have a ring, okay, and you chain up 3 to create the first of the double crochets into the ring. You do 2 more double crochets to create your first cluster. Okay, then we're going to chain 2 and then do 3 more double crochets into the center ring. For those of you that are only too familiar with granny type squares and granny projects, I do not wish to bore you by any means, but I like to be thorough. So after doing my 3 doubles and my 2 chains, go into that center for another cluster of 3 double crochets. And that's predominantly what this project is. Lots and lots of clusters, and makes it really, really easy to just fly right along. So it's, the 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. We got a chain 2. Besides, I love chit-chatting with you guys. So I did my chain 2, 3 more doubles into the center ring. That, and also I love hearing from you in the comments section. You guys are fabulous. So I've got my 3 doubles, chain 2, and then we need to do a slip stitch into the 3rd chain at the top here, going through both loops, as you can see. I apologize if the yarn is a little bit dark, and I hope you can see it all right. Alrighty, so we have our first round completed. Alright, so for the second round, where we want to start is in this corner here. So we're going to slip stitch our way across. So that's going through that middle double crochet. We're doing a slip stitch into the next double crochet, and then slip stitch into that chain 2 space, because it's always nice to start in the corners. Then we're going to start by chaining up 3, 2 more double crochets to create our first completed cluster, if my yarn will behave. There we go. So that's our first cluster. Then chain 2, 3 more doubles into that same corner space. My yarn. Oof, my yarn is being temperamental and disagreeable. I am so sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've got our 2 clusters separated by chain 2 space. Now over this bridge, we do a chaining of 1. Okay, then into the corner, we do 3 more doubles. Chain 2, and then 3 more doubles into that same corner space. Okay, so we've got 2 corners finished. Then we chain 1 again into the next corner, 3 doubles. Chain 2, and 3 more doubles into that same space. Chain 1 into the next corner, 3 doubles. Now, of course, you can change the color of your yarn however you want to. You could do a couple of rounds per color. You can do a different color every round. You can go absolutely nuts and do a great deal of stash busting at the same time. You know, it's totally up to you, however you wish to do this. Sometimes I like it to be monochromatic because that way there are no ends to sew in, and also it has a nice uniform look. You know, to each their own, of course. So now I need to chain 1 and then do a slip stitch into the top of this first chaining of 3 double crochet that we did there. All right, shaboom. And that's the end of the second round. So I'm going to do one more for you guys, and then I want you to keep going. Alrighty, so I'll do one more for you. Alrighty, so for the third round, we're going to do a slip stitch into that next double crochet, another slip stitch into the third double crochet, then a slip stitch into the corner space, like so. Then, continuing along, we do a chaining of 3, 2 more double crochets to complete our first cluster, chain 2, 3 more double crochets into the same corner space. Come on. There we are. Chain 1, then a cluster into the center space here. Yarn's being a little disagreeable, sorry. Alrighty, then we chain 1 again, and 2 more clusters in the corner, so that's 3 doubles. Chain 2, and 3 doubles into that same space. chain 1, then into that center space there, 3 doubles, chain 1, into the corner space, 3 doubles, chaining of 2, 3 more doubles into that same corner space. Now, like I said before, size-wise, this particular number of rounds, this worked for me. Now, you may need to do a little bit of tweaking. 8 rounds worked for me. However, it might be too big or too small or what have you for the size that you're going for. So when you first make one, you may need to deal with a little bit of trial and error because everybody's gauge is different, but that's okay. That's what makes us unique. So I'm in that corner, so I did my 3 doubles, chain 2, and 3 more doubles into the same space. And then when I'm done with this round, I'm going to leave off and I'm going to work on my own for a bit so that I reach my 8 rounds off camera, so as not to put you into a veritable coma. So into here, after doing my chain 1, doing my last 3 doubles for this round. And then I will show you what to do next after both of my squares are done. All right, chain 1, and then slip stitch into the top 3rd chain of this first double. And there we go. So you just keep going round and round and round, doing a slip stitch into the second one, the 3rd one, then the corner space until you have a total of 8 rounds. Alrighty? Okay, so I will be back as soon as possible and we shall continue. Alright. Hello again. So I made my 2 complete granny squares, 8 rounds per square. I already sewed in all of my ends, which were 2 per square, no biggie. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to sew these 2 together. Wrong side facing wrong side. So the top side shows like this, and this is the wrong side. So what you're going to want to do is plop one of these down, wrong side facing up, right side facing up, and sandwich these together. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a whip stitch join. You can do whatever join you like. You could even do the join as you go on the last round of your second square. You could conceivably do the join as you go method. However, because of this particular hat, I wanted to do the whip stitch. I think it looks really nice and clean. So what you're going to do is you're going to start in one of the corners, work your way all the way across doing the whip stitch, then all the way down another side. And so it's just 2 sides are going to be connected. Now I already cut a nice long length of matching yarn, and we're going to start. I'm not going to do all of this on camera because it's really quite simple and repetitive. So we have 2 chains in the corner here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to not go through the double crochet stitch, but I'm going to go through the first chain stitch through both there, and then into the corresponding stitch on the back piece. So you've got 4 loops on there. Now, like I said, there are a ton of different ways in which you can do the joining. Whatever works for you, by all means, go for it. You know, you could crochet them together, whip stitch, you know, really, whatever. Absolutely, whatever works for you. And so I'm just pulling this. So I've got a little bit of a tail left over, so I can sew in that end later. And then going in through the next one, just going through both little loops there, and then into the same stitch on the back side, just going through, and just sew both layers together like so. And then into the next, it would be the first double crochet, and then on the back side, the first double crochet, just go through both, and just pull your remaining bit like so. And that is what I'm going to do all the way around, stitch for stitch, all along this side, and then all along this side. And then I'm going to show you how to do the edging and then the tassels. All right, so I'm going to do all of my little whip stitching on my own, and I will be back after I sew in the ends from these, and then we will continue on with the edging. All right, I'll be back in a flash, my dears. Alrighty, so I have sewn together both of my squares, as you can see. With the whip stitch, it's a really nice, clean edge all the way. Now, like I said, you can, of course, crochet the two pieces together or do the join as you go method. Really, whatever works for you, by all means. So now we're going to do the edging. Oh, this is so much fun. So I have a bit of contrasting yarn. Again, this is Red Heart Super Saver, something that I had. And we're going to start in one of the corners. Now, it really doesn't matter which side you start on, because this hat is going to be symmetrical throughout. So, you know, you don't want to start on the seam here. You want to start in one of the corners. Okie dokie. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into that corner space there, and we're going to pull up a loop with our contrasting yarn, and then we're going to do 2 clusters into this space just as we have been. So we're going to pull up that loop, and we're going to chain 3, and then do 2 more double crochets to complete our first cluster, just as we have been doing. Then chain 2, and then 3 more clusters into that same corner space. This should be old hat for you by now. So we've got 2, and then 1 more makes our third. So we've got our contrasting bit in the corner. Now we're going to work our way across this length just as we have been before, doing a chain 1, and then a cluster into the next chain 1 space. Oops. And then chain 1, and then do another cluster into the chain 1 space until we reach the seam, and that is where it is slightly different. So I'm going to stitch ahead off camera, and I will show you how we deal with the join right here. Okay, so I'll be back in a flash. All right, so I'm up to the point where we have our seam. Now, just along this edge, I did the exact same granny stitching as before, so nothing really new there. And so I did my cluster, my chain 1, and now we are at the point of the join. So it's really not difficult to deal with, trust me. So after chaining 1, into this space here, we're going to do 1 double crochet. Then into the seam, we're going to do our second double crochet. Now, for me, it is important, might be or might not be for you, but it's important that you go under not just 1 loop of yarn, but 2, and that really gives it an extra little sense of security. You know, see, go through 2 and do your second double crochet directly into that seam, then your third for the cluster into that space there, that other corner space where we had joined. And so that is your cluster for where the join is. And then you would continue on in the exact same fashion all the way around until you reach the very, very beginning. Just doing your clusters of 3, chain 1, clusters of 3, and then when you hit this corner here, it would again be 2 clusters separated by a chain 2 space, and then you work your way to this join, and you would do your cluster in here, chain 1, 1 double crochet in this space, 1 double crochet into the seam, and then 1 double crochet into this space right here, chain 1, cluster in here, so on and so forth until you reach the very beginning where we're going to join, and then we're going to do a bit more edging, and then this will be well on its way. All right, so I'm going to keep stitching on my own, and I will meet back up with you when I'm done with this row here. Okay, be back in a flash. Alrighty, so I've been stitching along, and I'm at the end of the round. Told you I'd be back. So now I did my cluster, my chain 1, 1 more cluster to go, right in here. Like so. There we are. And then, last but not least, chain 1, and then do a slip stitch into the top 3rd chain of where we started. Like so. And then all you have to do is snip snip with your trusty pair of scissors, pull out your loop, and this round is done. And then you can sew in the ends. I like to actually do the next round before I sew in these ends. It makes it a lot easier, believe you me. So now we're going to do our first single crochet edging round. Now actually there are 2 ways that you can do it. With this hat that I've already done, I did it one way. I'm going to do it a different way for you for the piece that I'm working on right now, and I'll show you what I mean. So you're going to now grab another contrasting bit of yarn here, okay? And we're going to start in a corner space again. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the opposite corner because I've got these ends in this corner here. So I'm going to start in the opposite corner. Really doesn't make a huge difference. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. So starting in this corner, we are going to grab our contrasting yarn once more, and we are going to pull up a loop like so, chain 1, and then all into this corner space here, we're going to do 2 single crochets, chain 2, and 2 single crochets, all into that corner space. Okay, so as you can see, we still have a corner space. Okay, so we went from doubles down to singles. All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet into each double crochet. Quite simple, right? So it's just a single crochet into each double. Now, for this example, that I'm working on right now, see, I did my 3 single crochets, 1 into each of the doubles. I'm going to skip over this chain 1 space and just go directly into the next double. So you're only doing single crochets into the doubles, and you're skipping right over the chain 1s. And this will give your hat a more closed, drawn in shape. Whereas the other piece that I did, what I did was I did a single crochet into the chain space, and that makes it more open and hood-like. So I'm going to do it this way. Just doing a single crochet into each of the double crochets. And I'm going to go all the way around the entire perimeter, and then going to do a slip stitch to join. So I'm going to go all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you when we are up to the end of the round. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so I worked my way all the way around, and of course in this corner it was 2 single crochets, chain 2, 2 single crochets, so it's just like when we first started. All right, so I have worked my way all the way around, as you can see, and all I need to do is just a couple more single crochets, and then this round will be done. Just this one right here. And then what you can quite conceivably do is you could do a slip stitch with your new yarn, which actually I think I'm not going to do for this piece, but you could. So you would grab your new yarn and, like for instance, I'm just going to show you what you can do, although I'm not going to do it. So you have your 2 singles, so going into that first single right there, going into that first single, what you can do is you can then grab your new yarn and then pull it through both, like so, and then pulling your yarn ends tight, chain up 1, and then you could proceed that way, which would be doing a single crochet into that same stitch, single crochet into the next single crochet, and then doing your 2 single crochets, chain 2, and then 2 single crochets. You know, that is, of course, what you can do if you so choose to do so. By all means, go ahead. So again, it still has this chain 2 space in there. But what I think I'm going to do is I think it will look a little bit neater if what I do actually is going back to my old yarn. I will do a slip stitch into that first single crochet, like so, just like that, and then cut my yarn like so, pull up that loop, do it like that, and then I'm going to go back to my opposite corner once again, and I'm going to grab my contrasting yarn, and I'm just going to do it this way instead. So going into that chain 2 space, going to pull up a loop of yarn, chain 1, and then into that chain 2 space, 2 single crochets, chain 2, and 2 single crochets into that same chain 2 space. And that way not all of your ends are at the same corners. It makes it a lot easier to work them in. So you've got your little chain 2 space there once again. And then this round is going to be pretty much the same as the last round. What we're going to be doing is just doing a single crochet into each single crochet stitch. Easy as that. Last round it was a single crochet into just the doubles, not the chain 1 spaces. This one is just going to be a single crochet into each single crochet all the way around until we reach the beginning, and then we do a slip stitch join. Easy as that. And then we will do the tassels. If you want to do tassels, you can by all means. And there are a number of ways in which you can do that. And so that is going to be the last row of the edging. Alrighty, so I will be right back once I finish this round, and then we'll do the tassels. Alright, so the entire piece is done. I sewed in all of my ends, and I think it looks fabulous. Now, like I said before, this size may be a little bit big for some of you. You can do however many rounds per square that you want to have it fit just how you want. All right, so now we're going to do the tassels. Woo. So what I did was I cut 6 strands of yarn at 40 inches length. Okay, and in this case, I cut 2 green and 1 red, and I did that twice over, so a total of 4 green, 2 red, for, 2 tassels total. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this long length and we're going to fold it in half, like so, joining up our ends here. Okay, and I went a little bit over the 40 inches because I like to have a little bit of wiggle room. So I folded them in half. Now, going through the chain 2 space that we have in the corner, all right, you insert your hook and you grab your loops, like so. You grab your loops and you pull them through that chain 2 space, like so. Then you grab your ends and you pull them through that loop, and then you pull. Easy as that. And now there are a couple of different ways that you can make your tassels. Personally, I love braiding them. Now to braid them, very, very simple. All you would do is separate your 6 strands into groups of 2. Now for the piece that I did previously, I took my 2 red, separated those, and then my 2 green, and then another 2 green. And you know what? I'm going to adjust my camera, make this a little bit easier for you to see. So what you can do is you can separate your strands into 3 groups of 2, and then quite simply, you just braid them. Like so, until you have about 12 inches length, and then you gather all of your bits of yarn and you create a knot at the very end, which of course this is not 12 inches, but and then you would just knot it after about 12 inches length per tassel. Now, that is just, of course, a recommendation. You can do whatever you want. Now, another way that you can do your tassel is to gather all of your lengths here, and then you can actually do a chain stitch, or you could do a finger chain stitch, or really whatever you want to, chaining this entire length. All right, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Alrighty, so To do the chaining method for the tassel, another thing that you can do is, again, to fold your two lengths, well, three lengths, in half and feed your ends through. Okay, like so, like we just did before. Now what you can do is, so you have your loop here. Now you're going to want a bigger hook. So I've got a size K hook, and we have a loop. So then what you do is quite simply just grab your 6 strands and pull them all through that loop. Now it's a little bit tricky, but you pull it through, and then you pull them all through again. Now you may want to use a bigger size hook than what I'm using because this is really, really thick. Also, instead of using a hook at all, what you can do, which I think is even better than using a hook, use your finger. Yeah, use your finger and insert your fingertips through that loop and then pull up a loop, making a chain. And you have one chain. Then pull up another loop by sticking your fingers in through the loop that you just made, and then pull up another loop. And then pull up another loop. And this creates what is also a bit of a braided look. This is really hand done. And then in that case, when you reach the end, you would just pull out your remaining tail, pull it tight, and boom, presto, you are done. So there are a number of ways in which you can do this as far as your tassels are concerned. And then when you knot it, just make sure that both of the tassels are the same length before you cut. I can't stress that enough. And then, see, I'm going to undo this for now. And then your project is done. And, this is a really quick project to make. And, this will take you, maybe a day, depending upon how much time you have, probably less. And I absolutely love it, and I hope you do too. So if you did, please hit that like button down below. Your support means the world to me. I love it ever so much. And if you have any questions or comments, please do so in the comments section down below. I love hearing from you guys. And also, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do so, because I try to post videos as often as I can, and that way you'll be in the loop. All right, so listen, my dears, until next time, I want you guys to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.